I'm Harry Larry, and I'm related to Geeks. Today I'm going to talk about books. In fact, I'm going to talk about one series in particular, the Eragon series known as the Inheritance Cycle, written by Christopher Paolini. I'm kind of following on what Conley and Megan and Carl have been talking about, so I thought I'd just add my voice to the conversation. The Christopher Paolini cycle has the books in it, Eragon, Eldest, Brissinger, and Inheritance. And these four books, each of them are sizable, and so it's quite a story. It's what's called a young adult, used to be called a juvenile, and this is not to distract from the quality of the writing in any way. Some of Heinlein's best work was his juvenile series. The Inheritance cycle is about a young man. And that's what really makes a novel, a young adult novel, is that the protagonist is a teenager or starts as a teenager. And so in that way it appeals to young readers. The Inheritance cycle is fantasy novels. It's a world creation series. It's narrative adventure. That is, it goes from one action sequence to another action sequence, all in a row. What's called a page turner. Eragon is the hero of the series. At the beginning, he finds an egg. He thinks it's a stone, but it turns out it's a dragon's egg. And then the dragon's egg hatches for him, and that's the start of his big adventure. And it changes his whole life, believe me. In fact, it changes the whole created world that Christopher Paolini created. It's what's called a coming-of-age novel. That is, it starts with a child, young teens, a child really, and ends with him as a young adult and much more mature and aware of the world around him. Eragon's brother also plays a leading role in the story, and he's a farmer who becomes a warrior known as Stronghammer. And so that's a really fascinating side plot, and you get a whole another perspective of what's going on in the world there through his brother's eyes. I'm going to interject a little literary note here. In my opinion, exposition is bad. Exposition is when one character turns to another character and it starts explaining stuff, but really it's the author explaining stuff to the reader so something later on in the story might make some sense. I hate exposition, and there's not much exposition in Eragon, and when there is, he uses a literary technique that I find really useful. That's the story in a story technique. So there's a story, a separate little story that you get involved in that has its own little message and everything, and the exposition, the stuff that the reader has to learn, takes place within that story. The story of the author is also a coming-of-age novel. Christopher Paolini wrote Eragon when he was a teenager, and now he's a young man and finished the cycle and on to writing other stuff. I haven't finished the last book yet. I'm still deep in it. It's really great. I highly recommend this series. You can get it at your library, and you also get it on ebooks through Overdrive. That's the way I'm reading it. I like to read an ebook on my Android, and then I have it with me all the time. So if you want to see where I'm coming from here, Conley was talking about Hatchet and Redwall. Megan did a little bit of literature, and Carl also went on to Frankenstein. So we're all into science fiction and fantasy. Go to our website, relatedtogeeks.com. Click over to YouTube. Watch their videos too. Subscribe. I'm Harry Larry, and we're related to Geeks.